Alright guys, in this video we're going to be writing equations for proportional relationships, and we're going to be talking about unit rate. The first thing that I want you to recall is that unit rate is going to be the same thing as slope, okay? It means the same thing as slope. So a unit rate is the rate for one quantity of is the rate for 1 unit of a given quantity. So, for example, when they give us a unit rate for gas, it might be $2.15 for 1 gallon of gas. So it's always written for 1 unit. So we're going to look at a couple examples where we have to find the unit rate. So if they can do 90 sit-ups in 9 minutes, I need to know how many sit-ups I can do in 1 minute. So we're going to set up 2 proportions. So if I can do 90 sit-ups in 9 minutes, then I can calculate how many I can do in 1 minute. And guys, you're just going to be dividing or using your ABC button. So 90 divided by 9 would mean that I can do 10 sit-ups in 1 minute. So that would be the unit rate. And then you set up the same thing for the second one. So if I can go 600 miles in 12 hours, I need to know how many miles I can go in 1 hour. So you just divide 600 divided by 12, or you can take 600 ABC 12, and it'll tell you that you can travel 50 miles in 1 hour. And that would be your unit rate. All right, unit rate, I already said this, but unit rate can also be called slope. Remember, it's our M value. Okay, it's our M value. We can use the unit rate to write an equation for a situation that's in y equals mx form. Okay, so it's proportional. It's going to be y equals mx instead of y equals mx plus b. All right, so we're going to look at a couple graphs and come up with their equations for those graphs. So this first graph shows a proportional relationship. So guys, when you see proportional relationship, you should know that the equation is going to be y equals mx, okay? The graph shows a proportional relationship between the amount of pizzas sold, x, and the amount of money made, y. Write an equation to represent the situation. So guys, the only thing I need is my unit rate, okay? Or another name for that is slope. So remember that when we find our slope, or when we find our unit rate, it's always the y value over the x value. So in this case, the y is the amount of money that we make, and the x value is for the pizzas sold. So we have to take the information that we know from the graph. Guys, notice that these boxes, they're not counting by ones. Okay, they are on the x, but they're not over here on the y. So we have to find our unit rate. The easiest way to do that is to go to the first number that they give you, and that would be our y value, so that's our rise. So we can make $32 if we sell 2 pizzas. So in order to write my equation, I need my unit rate. So I need to know what is it for 1 pizza. So you're going to reduce, or you're going to simplify, 32 over 2, and you'll find out that it will make $16 for one pizza. Since this is our unit rate, which is the same thing as slope, we're going to take it and plug it in to our equation. Now remember, they want it to be simplified, so we're going to write y equals 16 times x. Notice we don't put it over the 1 because 16 over 1 simplifies to just 16. Guys, you don't have to use these first numbers. You could have used 160, which goes with 10, and $160 for 10 pizzas also simplifies to $16 for one pizza. Any of these numbers with their match on the X and Y axis will get you that same unit rate. Okay, let's look at another one. All right, the graph shows the relationship between calories burned and time for Sally while she is skiing. Write an equation to represent the situation. Now, guys, this doesn't tell me that it's a proportional relationship, but I know that it's proportional because it goes through the origin. It goes through that point 0, 0. And remember, we talked about yesterday that if it goes through that point 0, 0, it's going to be proportional. Okay? So since it's proportional, I want it in y equals mx, and I need the unit rate or the slope. Okay? So again, you're going to put your rise or your rise value, so 27, over your run value. So over 3. And that means that for 1 minute, Sally would burn 9 calories. So since she's burning 9 calories per minute, remember per means to multiply, so that's why that goes in for your M. That's your unit rate per minute. So I take y equals 9x. Guys, we can use this equation to find any amount of information that we need to know about Sally. Okay? Now that we have the equation for the situation. All right, let's look at that last one. All right, the graph shows the proportional relationship between the time in minutes and the words that Ashton can type. Write an equation to represent the situation. So since it's proportional, we know it's going to be y equals mx because our b value is already 0. It goes through the origin. So if I have y equals mx, my y represents words typed, and my x is represented for minutes. So now I just need to know my unit rate. I need to know Ashton's unit rate. So how many words can she type per minute? So you're going to use any one of these numbers to find our unit rate. So if Ashton can type 234 words in 6 minutes, then we need to know how much she can type in 1 minute. So we're going to take 234, and you can divide by 6, or you can use your ABC button. But we're going to find out that Ashton can type 39 words per minute. So since this is our unit rate or our slope, it gets plugged in to our M value. The biggest thing to pay attention is the numbers that they're numbering by on those graphs. All right, so your neighbor burns 96 calories in 6 minutes for skateboarding. There is a proportional relationship, so that should trigger this, between calories burned and time. What is the unit rate of calories burned per minute? So I want to know how much he burned in 1 minute. That's what I want to know. So we have to use the proportion that we already know. Well, we know he burned 96 calories in 6 minutes. So we can use that to find our unit rate. So you take 96 divided by 6, and you're going to get 16 calories per minute. Since this is our unit rate, and unit rate's the same as slope, we're going to use that in our equation. The biggest thing to remember is that unit rate is the same thing as slope. A company donates money to a charity every time the baseball team hits a home run. They donate $400 for every home run. So we can go ahead and write our unit rate. We get $400 for every, so for one home run, we get $400. Write an equation for the situation where Y is the total amount of money donated and X is the number of home runs that they hit. Guys, since they already gave us our unit rate, we're just going to plug this into our equation. So if they tell us that we hit 17 home runs, we can plug 17 in for that X value and find out how much money was donated. You can use that equation to find out that piece of information by simply multiplying. All right, remember, this is quick, so if you need to go back and rewatch any of this, you always can rewind or pause. This is the last one, though. So there is a proportional relationship, so Y equals mx, between fathoms and feet. A depth of 7 fathoms is equivalent to a depth of 49 feet. What is the unit rate of feet per fathom? So per means for that 1 fathom. So I want to know for 1 fathom how many feet. So we set up our proportion. So feet has to go on top. Fathom has to go on bottom. So 49 feet with a depth of 7 fathoms. So that would simplify to 7 feet per fathom. So guys, they didn't ask us to write the equation, but we could write the equation for this. Y equals 7x. So if we were to graph this situation, the slope of our line would be the same thing as our unit rate. So our rise would be 7 over our run of 1. So that means on the y-axis, they would count up by 7s. And on the run axis, they would count by 1s. Okay? Again, if you need to go back, you always can.